I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but this is absolutely crazy. So we've been talking for a good while about FTX potentially at some point later in the year really making a comeback. But take a look at this news. The bankrupt FTX is now literally beginning to process the relaunch of the exchange. What? Now, in all seriousness, who is going to be using that? Let me know down below if you would actually, with your right mind, put money onto FTX 2.0. After all that's happened, are you going to be like, you know what? Nah, I think this is a good idea. Matter of fact, I'm going to store my crypto on an exchange that's now known around the entire world for mistreating customers' funds and just doing whatever with it. Nah, you know what? Second chances. I believe in second chances maybe, but I don't know exactly about this one, guys. I don't know. Anyway, if you've not done it yet, guys, make sure you press that like button and let's take a look at the rest of the crypto news for today, because this is... Oh. So first of all, some pretty big things have happened over in Canada. Coinbase pointed out, big news from Canada. Canadian lawmakers have published a comprehensive report supporting blockchain technology. And that was quite interesting because pretty recently, I believe Bybit or some other exchange had to move out of Canada for not getting the proper license. And so the fact that they are pretty much open to this, to me, is very surprising. Now, people were quick to note that over in Canada, at least they are looking into crypto and they've got themselves a couple of different reports now regarding blockchain tech, and at least they're recognizing this stuff is important to talk about. Unlike our US counterparts, even though they've put some reports out, the urgency does not really seem to be there. With regards to crypto lawsuits, which I think are always interesting, Meta Lawman had this to say. Crypto litigation update. A lot will happen in crypto court cases in the next several months. Each court decision that comes down potentially impacts other pending cases. Here's a status report and upcoming deadlines in some of the key cases. So, the SEC versus Ripple is right now waiting for a critical ruling from Judge Torres on cross motions for summary judgment. Open question whether the judge will address secondary sales of XRP. So that's with the most important lawsuit, what's going on. Then we've got the SEC versus Bittrex. And little side note, this just points to show, or puts to show, whatever, just how much of a schmackage the SEC has been doing. It's insane. Take a look. So the SEC v. Bittrex, June 30th, so tomorrow. Deadline for Bittrex to file a motion to dismiss. That's about it. The SEC versus Genesis and Gemini, July 21st. Deadline for the SEC to respond to the motions to dismiss filed by Genesis and Gemini, arguing that the EARN program is not properly classified as a security, which Coinbase has also just filed a motion to dismiss for, basically stating that proof of stake and things along those lines are just interacting with the blockchain. They're not really some lending product from the exchange itself, so to speak. Anyway, we've also got August 7th, deadline for Coinbase to file their motion to dismiss. Well, they've actually just filed it already, so that one can get out. Then, number 5, SEC versus Binance, September 21st. Deadline for Binance to file their motion to dismiss. And a motion to dismiss is basically them filing up and putting up some arguments to explain why this lawsuit shouldn't even be there. Why it should just be thrown out instantly. And anyway, before we get too deep, the answer here is pretty simple, right? We do believe the SEC doesn't even have the actual right to bring these cases up. And that's what they put into every single motion to dismiss. But they have to draft it up. So they've got September 21st for first deadline with the Binance case. FTX bankruptcy, September 29th. Deadline to submit customer proofs of claims. 200 million plus in fees incurred, which is wild. Then Coinbase versus SEC, deadline for the SEC on October 11th to report to the court the status of its consideration of Coinbase's petition for rulemaking, which is basically, hey, SEC, do you want to sit down and make some rules? They had 4 months to reply to that. Then we've got on the, I guess no date, NYAG versus KuCoin. The New York Attorney General asserts that Ethereum is a security. No progress reported on the case as of yet. Then HODL Law versus SEC, seeking a court ruling that Ethereum is not a security, waiting for ruling on the SEC's motion to dismiss. And then number 10, because we got a lot. Number 10, we got Grayscale versus the SEC. suit to convert GBTC to an ETF, waiting on a decision from the court because, well, it's a really difficult case, obviously. We've talked about ETFs for such a long while, and this proposal would basically put a Bitcoin ETF as approved, so that's a really difficult one. Anyway, number 11, Voyager bankruptcy. Plan confirmed. Voyager customers' assets are, or the customers themselves, are supposed to be able to withdraw about 35% of their account assets now, but problems reported. And then 12, Celsius bankruptcy. Fahrenheit declared successful bidder for Celsius assets. Revised plan will need court approval. 13, U.S. trustee versus FTX, Third Circuit. Trustee is appealing bankruptcy court's denial of motion to appoint an independent examiner into all of it. And the FTX and the Official Committee of Unsecured Creditors both oppose appointment of an independent examiner. I'm not sure exactly why that would be. And this is an informational tweet thread, not legal advice. If you are impacted by any of these cases, go to a qualified attorney. This is just some information, and I think it's very nice he did that. And now, I need to show you guys something that has to do with the SEC, but not anymore because this man that's going to do the talking does not work there anymore. But I believe that you guys all know him. His name is Mr. Jay Clayton. He's the guy that brought the original lawsuit against Ripple a good while back. And Cameron Winklevoss says a must watch. Former SEC Chairman Jay Clayton describes the new and deeply un-American ethos of the SEC under Gary Gensler. If we're not losing cases, we aren't suing enough businesses. This is a total abuse of power. So this is going to be a very interesting video. Again, guys, I want to recommend you to join the Discord. A link is down below. It's just a place where you guys can all come together to discuss ideas, hopefully get some updates quicker than I can post them on YouTube. And even though I always tell you, make sure you put that notification bell on so you get the notifications as soon as possible. Sometimes Discord can be better to discuss things, start up new businesses, get some trading advice, all that type of stuff from other people, hopefully just like yourself. So hopefully you can help out each other, make each other richer, all that stuff. Anyway, this is extremely funny. So let's watch this video. We'll probably get back to this video soon enough, but let's quickly give it a little watch.
Take this to a very high level on the regulatory side. What you're hearing from the leaders of the regulatory organizations is if we're not losing cases, if we're not being pushed back on by the courts, we're not doing enough. Think about that for a second. That is a fundamental shift in how we as Americans view the role of the government. I don't want to be in a place where I know the government is going to bring cases they think they're going to lose. Imagine you're the person who is the subject of that case. Now, we're talking about corporations.
Yeah, to see if they can, and if they're not stopped, they're going to, yeah.
Right, but this is an ethos now, which is unless we're losing, we're not bringing enough cases. That may be fine for private litigants against each other and think about it, but when you have the power of the state and you're supposed to only bring cases and only make rules that you think are going to pass judicial muster. Let's take.
And I'm kind of at a loss for words. I don't know what has happened or what's going on there, but isn't this so weird to you guys? I'm not sure if I'm out of my depth here or what's going on, but the guy that's literally brought up the Ripple case just to kind of see if he could do it, which again is such a deeper thing because we've seen now the connections between him and the law firm and William Hinman and Ethereum, etc., etc., etc. But still, for him to now turn his back on Gary Gensler and say that the way the SEC is doing it now is just wrong and that they shouldn't bring cases they think they're going to lose. And if, Gary Gensler is basically with the approach of, hey, if we're not doing enough, if we're not losing, we haven't brought enough cases. What? Because, again, you have to realize, I actually have maybe an unpopular opinion, which is the SEC indeed should try to make sure that things are done properly. And so if they sometimes lose, that's fair. Fully going in with the assumption that they are going to win. But the idea here is also, right, from a counter perspective, if you're just suing another company, like Ripple, for example, that you can't really win because you have got no case and there's no rules, because that's the essential point here. This is if you've already made sure the proper rules are in place and they still decide to do something wrong, which Ripple hasn't done. All you're doing is just costing them a couple $100 million where you have the state behind you and getting nowhere in the result. Again, they could have way better sat down, try to get rules properly made it sure that for everybody it's clear, and then try to bring up cases against all around the board. And I wouldn't be here advocating that they would be wrong, or I wouldn't be advocating for Ripple's side to be let go. But no, what they did was don't explain anything. If everybody ever comes in, don't tell them anything, but still make sure that you're not the authority when it comes to asking questions, but make sure you are the authority when it comes to making lawsuits and making sure that you should have registered with you, but you couldn't because you couldn't have known. It's like a loop that just doesn't work. And so from that perspective, if you're then just going to sue around the board, trying to get as many as possible, it doesn't make sense because everybody's just shocked and confused. And about that, John Deaton said this, let me quickly put it into frame, is exactly what the judge in the Ripple case was alluding to when she said SEC lawyers were not maintaining a faithful allegiance to the law. You're supposed to have a good faith basis to being a case, or bringing a case, I guess, meaning you believe you can win by applying the law. You don't wait until a judge tells you otherwise. Shameful on the SEC and Gary Gensler. And I'd like to add to it. If you guys remember, a little while ago in the Coinbase case, the SEC also said, okay, the judge basically asked the SEC, hey, do you think that only these 14 cryptos you're alleging are securities are it, and the rest is fine? And they said, well, we'll keep that for ourselves to decide in the future. And that is, again, another very good example of this where they're just bringing up a case. They don't really fully know the details. They don't know if they're going to win or lose. They're just like, yeah, let's wing it and see as we go along. See if we can get more. Let's just see. Because they wanted to reserve the right to call more crypto securities in the future. It's just so funny, but it's also not funny because it's messing with my money. But this shows, again, just how, in my opinion, corrupt they are. But again, yeah, what can you do, huh? Guys, I've said it before, but I said it again. Make sure you put the notification bell on because crazy things are happening every single day. Also, Ripple is growing every single day. You might be looking at all these losses and think, hey, crypto is dying out. Or you might be looking at things like, oh, Robinhood is not doing so well. The crypto and stock trading platform is cutting staff because people don't want to trade anymore. And if I ever go outside, people always ask me, isn't this crypto thing stopping? But hopefully you are knowledgeable enough. You've gathered the informational pieces to know this crypto space is only expanding. It just keeps getting bigger every single day. And all I keep doing is buying more every single day. But that's about it. Guys, make sure you press the like button if you enjoyed it. See you guys again in another crypto video somewhere later today or tomorrow, who knows. But make sure you've got that notification bell on.